Welcome back to YieldCanary. Today we're running through the Insights tab and we're looking at some of the lists on there, like the no NAV erosion list, best weekly pairs, best monthly pairs, and if you stick around to the end, we're going to show you the absolute worst, the yield traps to avoid list. So if this is your first time here and seeing this, we are inside YieldCanary and we are on the Insights tab, which is 11 curated lists as it stands right now, with more coming. But we're just going to get right into this. This is something we do every week. So if you like this type of content, be sure to subscribe so you don't miss it. And let's start with the highest yielding ETFs with no NAV erosion list. So these are healthy funds with low ROC, return of capital, or they have the tax efficient badge, positive price return on the 1 year. And this is sorted by true income yield. So we'll just go right down the list. ARMW from Roundhill is number one here. You could see the stats over here. Very low return of capital, true yield, about 47%. And it's up year to date about 77%. Next, we have AMDW and AAPW, both from Roundhill. AMDW is actually at a 0% return of capital. I think that's the lowest on the list here. Then we have XLEI from State Street, followed by two of the NEOS funds, QQQI and IWMI. These ones are getting a little bit lower on the true yield. You could see 15% and about 14% respectively. Then we have XLRI, two State Street funds on the list this week. XLRI is next, pretty even on the price return, 13.5% on the true yield. Then we have TSPY from Tap Alpha, BIGY from YieldMax, and XLII from State Street. Actually, three State Streets. That definitely changed from last week. So that's the no NAV erosion list. Feel free to pause the video if you want to check that out in more detail, or you could head over to yieldcanary.com and try it out for yourself with a free 7-day trial. Next up is the best after-tax cash flow. So this is the take-home cash return 1 year. And what that is the price return plus the after-tax distributions, not reinvested. Taxes are set to 25% in this example. And you can see we have the same two Roundhill funds at the top, a few of the YieldMax funds here, SOXY, AMDY, and CHPY, take home cash return of about 66%. Then we have GOOP, AAPW, AAPY, and TSMY. And finally, EPD, which is one that you may have never heard of, to be honest. The buy zone picks are next. These ones I'm not going to touch on too much. Basically, this is showing the ETFs that are below the 90-day moving average, and you can see the discount over here in green. ARMW is at the biggest discount, and we usually have some silver funds on here. It looks like that changed since last week. So yeah, mostly YieldMax and Roundhill on this list here this week. So that is the buy zone picks. Then we come down to the highest advertised yields. So the advertised yield is the last month's distribution on an annual basis. So it is what you'll see on a lot of these issuers' websites. And we compare it to the true yield. And the true yield is when you strip out the return of capital. So anytime you see true yield at 0, like you do here with Granite shares, and a big time advertised yield, that means 100% of that distribution is return of capital. So this just shows you some funds that I'm not saying you should avoid, but you should probably look into a little bit more so you're not duped by the advertised yield. So you could see Grayscale, this one's been number 2 on the list for a while now. Their Ethereum covered call ETF advertising 119%, but a 0% true yield. Then we have QBY from Granite Shares in a similar situation. AMDW and ARMW, these are advertising a lot, but they also have a very, you strip out the return of capital, it's still a pretty solid true yield, some of the highest actually in the database. Then we have YieldMax and Granite Shares on the list as well. I'm not going to read every single ticker you can see here. The last one here is SEMY, also from Granite Shares, advertising 97% and a true yield of about 41%. Next, we have the best weekly pairs, and there are some of these funds show up on multiple lists. The same two Roundhill funds are on the best weekly pairs here, and you can see AMDY showing up on this list as well. Followed by CHPY is on a lot of these lists. It's been killing it this year. TSMY is another good one. INYY, NVIT, AAPW, and FEPI rounds out the best weekly pair list. And we get down into the best monthly pairs. So XQQI from Neos. We have a true income yield a little over 8%. Return of capital about 20%. And the monthly spendable cash yield at about 1.5%. Number 2 on the list is the QQQT. And you can see the numbers over here. Followed by XPay, XLKI from State Street, XLEI also from State Street. We have a gold fund from Curve, KGLD, TDAC from Tap Alpha, CAIQ, TPRY, and GOOP rounds out the best monthly pairs. Probably should have said this first, but this is sorted on the monthly spendable cash yield. And this one actually applies a 25% tax rate that you can change up in the settings there. Biggest improvements and deteriorations of the week. So this shows what happened on these funds last week compared to this week. So for Coney, CONY, for example, the ROC return of capital improved by 47%. And the true income yield went up by 91%. So that's what those numbers mean. And on the opposite side of the spectrum, you can see here NVIT. This week, the return of capital is 82% worse than where it was at last week. And the true income yield has dropped about 12% compared to where it was last week. So feel free to pause if you wanted to take a look at that. All these lists, if you want to see it for yourself, you can click to see more and it will expand the list for you there. So there is a lot of data on this Insights tab with more coming. Now we have the largest healthy funds by assets under management and the lowest expense ratio. These funds don't change from week to week too much for obvious reasons. Vanguard's VIG, for example, 129 billion. It's been number one for a while. And you could see the lowest expense ratios, VIG also number one on the lowest expense ratio, tied with VYM at 0.04%. And finally, here are the yield traps to avoid. So these are the funds with the lowest death clocks. You'll see the true yield over here is 0%, meaning it's all return of capital. Price return 1 year is probably down extremely bad on these funds. AIYY, for example, you could click in actually and see the price. See the price dropping steadily, with the dividends are probably also dropping steadily. You could see that on the chart. You could see it on the dividend events over here as well. So this is the yield traps to avoid. And overall, that is the Insights tab on YieldCanary. So we do this every week. If you want to see more of these types of videos, be sure to subscribe, leave a comment down below. Go check out yieldcanary.com today. We just got the portfolio tab up and running. You can enter your holdings here. You can play around with different scenarios if you wanted to. So a lot of good stuff going on. Go check it out yourself, yieldcanary.com, and we'll see you in the next video.